Hello again, welcome back to Illegally Cited. I am back. It is actually the next day now. It is Wednesday afternoon after work. And I did watch the first ever PC Gaming E3 show last night. We're back in Left 4 Dead, starting a new campaign just for me to kind of finish up talking about all the conferences and a couple other odds and ends for E3 yesterday. But yeah, so I looked at, I watched the E3 PC conference, and I have some mixed feelings. I definitely think that E3, that PC should be represented at E3 more than it is, because there are, you know, a lot of stuff is getting ported to PC, like all the console stuff. Like, most of those things are actually getting ported. However, there are also other games that just don't come to consoles or won't necessarily work well on consoles. Some of those that they showed there, but there's just, like I said, a little bit of everything. So, but before I go into games specifically, the one thing I will say, wow, this PC conference, it was long. It started at 8 o'clock my time, and I was thinking, okay, you know, I'll be in, you know, I'll be able to wind down and, you know, go to bed a little after 10. The thing was like 2.5 hours long or so, and which wouldn't necessarily have bothered me so much. I mean, I know I'm getting old. I know I have to go to bed and, you know, get up early for work in the morning. However, it wouldn't have bothered me so much if the thing was actually more interesting than it was. They showed a lot of games, or I should say a lot of games were covered. I won't actually say that they showed a lot of games. A lot of games were covered there, but that was the problem. A lot of games were covered and not shown. So the way this PC event took place is they had like this stage, and it was almost like a late night talk show. Now the host was not bad. Like, he seemed, you know, he seemed to communicate with all the developers and stuff and publishers and whatnot pretty easily. I think he just didn't have really all that great material to work with, and the way they structured showing some of these games was a little... so I don't have a problem with the host. I would say next year, you know, if they make this an annual event, which I think they should, because PC does deserve its own attention. However, you know, I'm fine with him as the host, but I really think that they really need to revamp and make the show more interesting, make it flow a little better. The main problem that I had, like when I talked about the EA conference, was there was too much talking. Like, he would invite someone up to, you know, he was behind his little talk show desk. They had a couch, and he would invite one or two or sometimes three people up there to talk about a particular game, and that's in fact what they would mostly do. In the 2.5 hour time, there were, I think, 2, maybe 3. I can't remember if there were 3, but there was at least 2, maybe 3 actual live demos. I think they did a Deus Ex one. They did a, what was it called? Enter the Gungeon, which I actually hadn't heard of. They had, oh, and then they did there was 3, because they did the Strafe, which was this kind of cool looking first-person shooter. But I'll talk a little bit more about those as I run through the games. So, basically for next year, like I said, not just the PC show, but a lot of these. You know, if you're going to talk about the game, you know, you can talk about, oh, you know, this is what we were trying to do. We're trying to develop the graphics in this way. We're trying to make sure that the AI behavior does this. Don't just talk there and show it. Or don't just talk and then show the guy sitting in the chair or standing on stage. If you're going to talk, run that over some freaking gameplay. You know, that's what we're here to see. We're not here to see I'm not saying that the information that they give in these things is bad, because no, I mean, you do kind of want to know. I mean, some of the stuff is a little meh, but some of it is actually sort of interesting. And but again, I really think that a lot of these places need to like really understand why people want to watch your press conference. I think Bethesda did a fantastic job. Microsoft did quite well. Nintendo was pretty good, although just some of their games weren't all that. I mean, I wasn't interested in a whole lot of games, but their style was good, and their puppet skits were actually really funny, in a weird way.
Oh hell yes!
Nice door there. But yeah, so, but like I said, EA, Ubisoft wasn't too bad on the PC show, but yeah, just less talking, more showing, and for the love of God, please, at least, even if you're going to show some early footage, show some early gameplay footage. I don't care what your CG cutscene is. You know, like I've said this in other videos I've uploaded here. You know, you can have your cinematic, okay, I'm going to do a quick thing of this is what the... You know, this is what the story for a game is. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
but
about.
cut some gameplay footage in. Like, a lot of games, there's still a few that I'm not even sure what type of game they are, because they talk about the story or they show just some cinematic stuff. And I might have a vague idea what the game is supposed to be, but like, if you're not going to show me that, then, you know, what's the point? Anywho, I know these videos are quite long and stuff, so I want to get moving on with the, let's get my phone back up here so we can go through some stuff. And a lot of these I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. I'm probably going to pause the game here and there just because there are games that we haven't talked, or that we've talked about already. There'll be a lot of those, so anyway, we're going to start. Killing Floor 2, they did show a little bit of that, and I knew about that before E3. It is technically in early access right now. The first Killing Floor was a cool idea. I really wanted to like it, but there's something about it that I just didn't really care for. Killing Floor came out shortly after, I want to say, the first Left 4 Dead. So it was a first-person game fighting these different types of like zombies and things. But the whole thing was like, you would shoot dudes, and then like you had to go find a store after you killed a wave, hurry up and try to upgrade yourself, buy more ammo and things like that really quickly, and then go out and, you know, kind of wander your way around the level and just keep doing that as you power up and things. So it was a neat idea, but at that time I was just so in love with Left 4 Dead that it was going to be hard for any other zombie game to grab my attention, because like I said, I'm playing Left 4 Dead right now, Left 4 Dead 2.
Not in the head.
This game, I don't know, this game is probably at least 5-6 years old. I can't even remember anymore, but I absolutely love Left 4 Dead. And I was almost kind of hoping for like a Left 4 Dead 3 or any kind of Valve announcement, but they're pretty, you know, they're pretty quiet on that. Didn't hear anything about that. And I will just get it out of the way right now. Boo-hoo. No, there's no Half-Life 3 or any Valve 3 product. Valve still needs to go to kindergarten and learn how to count to 3. No Left 4 Dead 3, no Portal 3, no Half-Life 3, which kinda sucks. So, that out of the way, what'd you get? There we go. Let's see, what else do we got here? Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, they just showed a little bit of, you know, kind of potential, like what the game would look like, but it was more, again, cinematic. I'm not super interested in that. I'm not too much into the realistic war games. Like I said, it's really a problem of like, hey, there's like soldiers with camouflage, and I can't see who's shooting me, and it's just kind of hard for me to like those for the most part. Star Citizen, they talked a little bit about that. They had some guy do a pre-recorded like video thing for that. Now, Star Citizen, I'm not all that interested in. but I totally get why people are. Except for I'm really curious to see, no matter what happens, even if I'm not interested in playing the game so much myself, Star Citizen is this absolutely crazy game. It's this space simulation or space, like, God, there's some, I don't even know everything about it, but basically, like, you have to buy, like, you have to buy into the game. Like, you pay so much money, and that gets you a spaceship. You actually, I guess there's something where, I don't know if it's all ships, but you actually have to buy ship insurance. So, like, if your ship blows up or something, I don't know, maybe you have to buy another one. I don't know, it's just ridiculous. Like, they started out with, like, Kickstarter, I think, and some other funding options and all that. And, it's raised just an obscene, like, $80-some million or something. So, this is going to be one of those crowdfunded games where, like, it's either going to be the craziest, awesome success story ever, or it is just going to piss a lot of people off because, like I said, the amount of money and obsession that people put into it. I mean, you look at the ships and stuff, like, you know, we don't even really know how the game is, what it's going to play. I mean, there's ambitious goals for, like, space combat. I think you're supposed to be able to go, like, space stations and stuff, or, like, have first-person shooter, like, for people that like to play first-person shooters, like, to play on the ground. Dude, I don't even know. Like, there's just so much stuff going on. I'm not even going to begin to care about it until I know more what, you know, until I know more about it, because, again, flying games, be it airplanes, spaceships, whatever, they look cool, but I'm just not good at them. So, no, I'm not all that hyped about it, but I totally get why people are. Just look up Star Citizen and you'll see all kinds of craziness. They had a couple sessions, I'm just going to cover them both right now, but they had a couple people from AMD on the show because they sponsored. There was, like, the CEO person, and then there was another guy. And again, this was where, like, they talked a lot about, oh, we're making these good graphics cards, and we care about blah, 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 which is, you know, some of the info is kind of interesting, but not really. It would have gone a long way, at least, to show, you know, like, to show some really graphic, intense game. You know, as you're talking about all this, don't just show the talk show. They did a tiny bit, but, like, you know, you have to show the games and talk about it. It's like, oh, well, because we're using all this is the type of, you know, maybe show different layers, you know, like, oh, because, you know, this is what we're supporting in DirectX 12, you know, these are the kind of lighting effects we can do, these are the kind of things. I mean, people can get behind that because they're actually seeing it, but if you're just going off this, like, you know, it's sometimes it's hard to tell, and sometimes it's obvious when you got, like, some executive person going, you know, oh, we're behind this and we believe and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, you're just reading off a damn teleprompter, you know? You're not a gamer. You know, you're just saying what, you know, you're just saying stuff, basically. Okay, before we go to the alarm here, let's, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. They did show an actual little bit of gameplay there. They showed him kind of shooting a few guns. They showed him going through cover a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about that because I've already talked about it twice. Total War series, they did like a little history of that, and then they talked about the Warhammer, Total War Warhammer, or as they called it, Total Warhammer. And that's a series, again, that I'm not all that familiar with because huge strategy games, lots of text, lots of little dudes running around. I totally get why people like it. It sounds kind of neat, and maybe if I wasn't visually impaired, I think it would be a little bit easier to play that type of genre. But, you know, if you're a Warhammer fan, that's something I could see definitely getting really excited about, because it's basically bringing those figures and those battles to life. They did a little chat with Microsoft about Windows 10 and DirectX 12. Nothing really, again, they really didn't, they just talked. I don't even remember if they showed anything during that little chat, so we're just going to move on. Now this is interesting. Killer Instinct is coming to PC, and they're having cross-platform play. That's what they're starting to do this with Xbox One, with a few games, where like yeah, you're actually going to start being able to play against each other cross-platform. You know, so Killer Instinct is going to be coming, the new version of it, and they also announced that Gears of War, the new Gears of War remake that they covered at the Microsoft press conference. At the PC show, they announced that, yes, the PC version is coming, and it's going to look, excuse me, it's going to look better than the Xbox One version even, so I'm totally checking that out. Fable Legends, I already talked about that. They really didn't show much of anything new for that. Gigantic, they showed a little bit more of it. Again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because, you know, I already talked about it, I think, once or twice. They did kind of tell us more about what the game is supposed to be. It's kind of a cross between a shooter and a MOBA. I can't remember what MOBA stands for. Mobile, or no. Oh god, no, I'm not even going to try. It's like massive, it's something Battle Arena. You know, like Dota and League of Legends, those types of games. But yeah, they're going to have a beta later out this year. Gears of War, I already talked about that. American Truck Simulator. All these simulators that are coming to the PC, like one of the big ones was this Euro Truck Simulator. I saw some videos of it and just thought it was kind of interesting, but I don't know. I don't know if it looked all that interesting. But now we're getting an American Truck Simulator. So, hey, if you want to drive a truck around America, there you go. Do some sightseeing virtually? Sure. There you go. Eve Valkyrie they talked about, which is their, like, Eve's spaceship, like, flying game, and they're really targeting it for a VR experience with things like the Oculus Rift. They did actually show a lot of gameplay footage of that, and it looked pretty cool. Again, if I was actually good at spaceship games, I'd be getting a lot more excited about it, but definitely pretty interesting. You know, I really want to see what VR is going to be like. I wonder if I'm going to be able to see it well enough. I really want to try an Oculus Rift badly. Ion, they mentioned that at the Microsoft conference, and I had no idea what it was, and they didn't tell us or show us a lot more in the PC show, but we do actually at least know that it's supposed to be a type of Diablo-esque style game, so like a 3D isometric thing set in space. That's really about all I know at this point. Strafe. I'll talk a little bit about this, and I'll play a little bit here. Strafe is, this is one of their demos that they showed, and yeah, it is they were kind of going back to like the Doom, Quake, Arena things. There's a lot of it that is actually like, I forget exactly how it all works, but basically there's procedural. A lot of games these days are going procedurally generated, but what they'll do is they have different types of, like, a whole bunch of different types of enemies, they have a whole bunch of different types of rooms and stuff, and they basically are making it so that they want you to have a different game every time. So, I don't know, I mean, it looked pretty interesting. They were talking about, like, all the blood and all the other stuff that you're dealing with in the world, it's permanent, so it'll stay there, and meaning that, you know, after you fight a whole battle, you'll just see a whole bunch of carnage. Oh yeah, heal me, that'd be great. Oh no! Fine, I'll heal myself.
Watch out for a second. I have to heal.
Strafe, yeah. So, you know, all that stuff is permanent, so when you finish a battle, you'll see just all this carnage, but it also has implications where some of the enemies have this, like, poisonous, like, acid stuff, and as part of that, if you back yourself into a corner and that stuff stays on the ground, yeah, that can be a problem because what happens is it's permanent and it'll hurt your health really badly. And so you really have to, in those types of situations, you really have to watch those types of fluids to see, make sure that you don't pin yourself into a corner and then, you know, just have acid everywhere. So, I mean, that was kind of a neat thing. But yeah, kind of a, you know, I'm glad some of these games are harkening back to, like, the Doom, the Quake, the early 90s shooters, you know, whether it's level-based or whether, you know, whatever their little hook is. Modern, you know, I totally get, you know, people love the modern, like, more realistic military shooters or even, you know, slightly futuristic stuff. And I like some of that stuff. Oh, jeez. Some of that stuff too, but honestly, as far as first-person shooters go, you know, I mean, even Left 4 Dead is like a perfect combination where I'm in a realistic environment that I understand and that I would be familiar with and that I would have fun fighting in. But, you know, you have the zombies part of it where the zombies are actually, you know, they're really interesting to fight, you know. I don't know, they're just, you know, I love the melee part of it. I love just, you know, I'm not just fighting soldiers. I don't know, there's just something about Left 4 Dead that I really like. But, I mean, you go back to, you know, as many times as I've covered things like Wolfenstein on this channel, I still have a one or two Doom things coming up that I found that I have actually recorded and just haven't gotten to upload yet. You know that I love Doom. Doom is actually one of my favorite games of all times. I've almost decided, if not my favorite game of all time. So I love these classic shooters. You know, if we bring some of that stuff back, I am all for that. Be it single player, multiplayer, whatever. Bring it on. Pillars of Eternity expansion. This is kind of like an isometric RPG thing that came out, I think, earlier this year. They talked a little bit about that, and I don't think they might have showed a little bit of footage of it. I know they showed a trailer, but again, you know, it's like, oh, trailer. Not really a lot of gameplay. Big deal. What was this one? Oh, Planet Coaster. The guys that did the Roller Coaster Tycoon are doing a new roller coaster game, Planet Coaster, and I don't know, I mean, you know, you can kind of get an idea. At least that trailer, you know, even though it was CG, it looked pretty much in-game, and, like, you could kind of tell, you know, what the game might, you can imagine what the game would look like zoomed out or in different perspectives. And again, the problem that I have, like, even, you know, there's a lot of games and game footage where people will say, oh, this is all in-game footage, or in-engine footage. That's fine, except in-game and in-engine are two completely different things, and people maybe don't seem to realize that. In-game or you know, if you're in-engine, yes, let's say you're doing an in-engine cutscene, an in-game cutscene. Sometimes you can, you know, sometimes they actually render those a little bit higher than they would, you know, you can render those because they're pre-made. They're like a cinematic cutscene. Which is okay, and it gives you an idea of what the game is going to look like. But then that's where you have the difference between that and your actual gameplay, because what they don't take into account is saying, yes, this is what the game could look like in-game. However, like I said, a cutscene is just that, a cutscene. Like everything, you know where things are going to be, you can crank up the details a little higher. When you're actually showing in-game footage, gameplay footage, you're not just showing what the game looks like, you're actually balancing that along with everything else that the game has to do, whatever the PC or console game has to do. You know, it's not just saying, okay, here's your preset camera angles and this is what we're showing you. You're showing you from the character's perspective, you're calculating AI, you're keeping track of statistics or leveling or, you know, all kinds of other things that, you know, that drains, you can't put that all towards graphics because there's actually gameplay involved. So that's why I really want to focus more on, I really wish they would focus more on actual gameplay because at least that's more accurate, or can be more accurate of like, oh, this is what I should expect. And it's more realistic. Like, you know, like I said, cutscene, you can fake that pretty easily. So that's just my opinion. Anyway. Oh yeah, of course. Jesus, man. Charger. Anybody? Thank you. Good God. Alright, you want to let me reload my shotgun real quick? There. Okay, yeah, you heal me, and I'm going to check the next game. What do we got here?
Oh, all better now.
Okay, that's good. Oh, geez, get out of the goo. Okay, here, what do we got? More, there's a lot of expansion packs going on here. They talked about Hitman again. Again, they really didn't show much of anything as far as new gameplay. I mean, they showed this. They showed a little bit more kind of like in-engine stuff. Like you could potentially think, this could be a part of a level, you know, from like a replay camera. But again, no actual like mission walkthrough or anything like that, or partial mission walkthrough. So I'm just going to leave it at that because that was already at 2 other conferences at least. Arma 3, there's they didn't show anything really much for that either, but they talked about it a long time on stage, so I'm going to just leave it at that. Arma's a military shooter kind of thing, so we're going to cruise right past that. Okay, Beyond Eyes. Now I'm going to talk about this again, even though yes, I talked about it already. I did some more thinking on it, and like I said, I appreciate what the person is trying to do. I appreciate that we're getting company, I like that the diversity, not just in like, we're having more female characters or more African American characters or whatever it is. There's just seems to be more diversity in like, your player character that you can play in games nowadays, and I'm totally fine with that. That's a fantastic thing. That's great. Now you're playing this game where you're a blind person.
It's hot here.
That's cool. But again, the whole thing that I talked about last time where, it's like, oh, you're playing as a blind person, but if I am a blind person in real life...
Oh, I know what to do with this.
Can I play the game as a blind person because I'm playing a blind person in the game? No, I cannot, because everything is represented visually. Now, I was thinking about it, and I was almost thinking that, if you had... So, she talked a little bit more about it, and, some of what she's going for is sort of interesting. So apparently it's this little girl. She's been really sheltered, and I don't know what her story is, but basically she said that, she's really sheltered. And she's just out in somewhere exploring. But like I said, because she's been sheltered, she doesn't really know a whole lot. She doesn't really have a lot of experiences to draw on. So as she's exploring, she kind of gets things mixed up. So she's listening to something, and she's like, oh, that's water. That's something, I'm familiar with that. Oh, is that like a faucet, or is that a fountain? And she, she goes to explore, and she realizes it's like some kind of a sewage thing, because she smells it. Like, oh, okay, now I've kind of figured this out. That was the example that they gave. And like I said, that's sort of interesting, but again... the art style is cool, don't get me wrong, but like if they said, oh, I'm playing a low vision person, and like all I can see is colors and shapes, that I could kind of, even if they addressed it that way, like, because, what people, and I shouldn't fall in, because I'm falling into this trap myself a little bit too much, I'm focusing too much on, oh, this character, you're playing as a blind character. Well, the vast majority of blind people are not totally blind. They have some light perception, they maybe can see shadows, maybe they can see shapes, but basically blind means that even if you have those things, you don't have enough vision to rely on it. So... aside from maybe a couple things here and there, your vision is not gonna help. Like, you're not gonna use that to navigate, really. You're not gonna use that because it's just it doesn't help you that much in a lot of cases. So if she said, oh yeah, this person, you know, she's mostly blind, you know, but, you know, so you could kind of interpret the world of like, oh, this is what it would be like just seeing, you know, things as a bunch of like, you know, kind of cool, you know, interesting looking art style, if that kind of accounts for like, you know, seeing the shapes and colors and shadows and stuff. That would be kind of interesting, but I think it's just how they portray it. I think my problem with that is, like I said, if I was a blind person, you know, not myself, but if I was somebody who had worse vision than I did, who was totally blind, you know, I have plenty of blind friends, and, you know, they want to play the game, because, hey, it's a blind person. I'm curious to see what, you know, how they made a game about that. But just conveying everything visually, you know, that's just one of those things that's kind of frustrating, because I would want to play that kind of game. The other way that they could take it is they could say, okay, well, maybe...
Look.
And they would have to balance this out too, I think, and that's why I don't want to talk too much about it. But if it was like somebody showing or you know, working with someone as a blind person, so you have your visuals, but you're guiding them along. But again, I want to say that you want to be very careful with that too, because a lot of people are going to have problems if you don't take that, you know, if you don't develop that the right way either, because you can actually do more harm than good that way. Because let's say that you had a game where you were a sighted person helping a blind person out, and they just had, oh, well, you're just going to hold my hand and I'm going to drag you along with me to keep you safe. No, because people are going to then take that into their real life situation and like, oh, this is how you help. This is how you help and interact with a blind person. No. You know, there are specific techniques, you know, like sighted guide and the way you assist people, that you really have to be careful about, because people do a bad enough job at that anyway. They'll, you know, like a lot of people will just come up to a blind person and grab them and be like, oh, here, let me help you. And it's like, you know, you can't see, somebody grabs you, you know. A lot of people, yeah, I mean, if I was totally blind and somebody did that, if I wasn't sure what the hell was going on, I might punch them. You know, it's like, hey, what are you doing? You trying to rob me? You trying to... What are you doing? You know? So you got to be careful about how you do that, too. It's a tough thing to follow. You know, like I talked about that Kickstarter game that has 7 days left, by the way, you guys. I would definitely recommend... I mean, that one sounds really interesting, and I would love to see that one funded. Because, you know, I said they're actually trying to... I've talked to the developers some, and they're actually trying to work with, like, the visually impaired community to make the game more accessible, and hopefully, if nothing else, try to make it more accessible to totally blind gamers. And where the heck am I supposed to go here? It's been so long since I've played this level that seeing if there's any other items here too, but I thought maybe this is like where you drop down. Is this where you drop down the hole? I don't even remember where the heck it is I'm supposed to go. Well, let's just go this other way. Okay, here we go. I think this is where I'm supposed to go. Where did I come from here? Hell, I don't know.
Give that witch something to cry about. Kill your light.
Let me see what let me see what next we got on our list. Okay. Guild Wars 2 expansion. They did talk a lot about that. MMO game, which if you're into MMOs, there sounds like they're adding a lot of content to that, and a lot of variety and stuff like that. And they did show some gameplay footage there. I guess you're going to be able to add like a whole bunch of different things, like, you know, different arenas to fight people and customize your bases or guild things. And I didn't know too much about it because I have not played Guild Wars 1 or 2. So I can't really speak too much authority about that. Dirty Bomb is another first-person shooter that is on early access on Steam right now, and I've thought about looking at it, but I just haven't done so yet. Kind of seems to be one of those like where you and a few other people are doing some kind of a mission, and then as you go, people are like backstabbing. So it's like, oh, well, okay, you've gotten us through this hard part of this mission. I'm going to backstab, take your part of the loot, and then I'm going to get more of a reward. You know, but that might backfire on you. There's games like Kane and Lynch or even Payday, which I haven't covered on the channel yet, has sort of that element to it. But I don't know. I mean, it looks interesting. I should really give it a shot one of these days. Tacoma, we already talked about that. They talked a little bit about it. They just showed basically the same gameplay teaser that was at the other conferences. That's the Gone Home company, Fulbright company, their exploration game in space. Definitely want to check that out. Soma, ooh, yeah. That I want to see. There was a very short kind of gameplay snippet there, but those are the original developers of Amnesia. Not a Machine for Pigs, but the original Amnesia, which is a tense as hell game. It comes out this September. I forget the exact date, but they are releasing it this September. I have the PC to run it, and I'm excited and terrified at the same time, because those games just, oh man. I didn't do a full playthrough of the original Amnesia, but that's probably what I should have done instead of Machine for Pigs, because while there was some cool stuff in Machine for Pigs, the original Amnesia was way better. And like I said, there were parts of it that was just tense as hell. They know horror. they can do one heck of a horror game, so I'm thinking that's going to be one of my Halloween-esque games this year. Not Amnesia, Soma. It takes place under the ocean in some kind of crazy place. And yeah, so Soma. Definitely be taking a look at that later. DayZ, they talked a little bit more about that. That's been in development or in early access for like a year and a half. It's still a ways out. They're adding more survival stuff instead of PvP, player versus player kind of things. And there is going to be, he kind of joked about it on stage, but they said, oh, it's going to be a little bit more, they're adding a single player kind of survival portion of the game where if you don't have an internet connection, or you just hate working with people, or you don't want to get basically, oh, I've just been exploring and then, you know, I get mobbed by a whole bunch of people and just murdered. There is a single player campaign, so yeah, I might look into that eventually once it finally comes out. Take on Mars, it's another, they just showed a very, very brief teaser of that. It's another game by the original DayZ team, or the guy that I think it's the guy that left DayZ to start something else. I forget what it was, but that's pretty early. So we'll see how that goes. Project Blue Streak. I believe this was the Gears of War guy. This was Cliff Bleszinski. He went off and did his own sort of left and started a game company a little while ago. And he's going back to first person. So he's doing some first person shooter stuff. Not really a whole lot of gameplay footage shown, but definitely sounds appealing. He's kind of going back to a lot of the classic era games and wants something really fun like that again. So hey, I'm all for that. Enter the Gungeon. They did a little gameplay demo of that. That was basically, oh god, it was like a overhead twin stick shooter looking thing, but kind of bullet hell. Like there's just bullets everywhere. So naturally, I would suck horribly at that game, but it did look kind of cool despite that. So that was kind of neat. Heroes of the Storm expansion. I don't know anything about that MOBA, but they had Blizzard up there. They were talking about that. I don't know anything about MOBAs really, so it just kind of sounds really complicated, and I just don't have time to devote to that. I have too many other things I want to try to play, so I can't really speak to any authority on that either, unfortunately. StarCraft more, and they had, when Blizzard was up there, they also talked about their final StarCraft 2 campaign to kind of wrap up the main story. They're going to add more multiplayer stuff to that as well. And No Man's Sky is what they ended it with. So that one, again, you know, it was sort of interesting some of the stuff they were talking about, but they didn't show anything. You know, they didn't really show things. They really didn't show anything. Am I curious about the game? Yeah, kinda. I mean, that sounds like something that I could probably get behind and check out. Just because, you know, I mean, I'm curious about the flying part, but I'm also curious about, you know, going on to all these different planets and exploring them to see what's on them. They did announce that the same day release date for the PS4 and the PC version of No Man's Sky, so that is good. Oh, sorry, buddy. I thought you were a zombie at first. My bad. And that was the PC, first ever PC gamer show. I like what they were trying to do. I like that, you know, they gave PC their own, you know, some attention for its own. And I definitely think that it should continue next year. However, like I said, I already talked about what I didn't like about it. And maybe hopefully have a few more games that, you know, either are, you know, that like show the differences. Like, you know, on a modern console, even right now, you know, yes, the Xbox One and PS4 versions of The Witcher look good, but man, you have some great video cards going on the PC. Those games just look just stunning. You know, you want to show some of that. You know, show what makes the PC really cool, and show more footage. Don't just sit there and talk. Like, I don't really care. You know, it's different if you're doing like a stage show interview, and you know, you're just interviewing somebody quick. I totally get that. But in a talk show format where you have a direct link to like your direct feed footage, use it, please. Use it. Otherwise, that is that pretty much wraps up all the conferences for E3. I'm just going to pause it here because I think we're going to wrap up here very shortly. There are, like I said, these are just the games that were in all of these shows. There are plenty, like, you know, go look if you're interested in some other games that I haven't talked about. There are other titles that I have not covered just because they weren't mentioned on these shows, because I wanted to bring that kind of stuff to you first. I did briefly mention in one of my earlier videos about the Transformers game. Transformers, was it Devastation? I really got to find me some gameplay footage of that, because the trailer that I saw, it looked like Generation 1 Transformers, and from a couple write-ups that I read really quickly online today, I want to be hopeful. I want this game to be really good because it sounds kind of amazing, and it looks really, I mean, it looks amazing, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty fun. I forgot there's also the Tony Hawk game coming back, Tony Hawk 5, and that is coming to consoles this fall. I don't know, no one has said anything about PC yet. I hope it does come to PC. However, upon doing some thinking and looking online, boy, yeah, I am more than likely probably going to be getting an Xbox One in the semi-near future. I found they have a new bundle now with it's a Halo Master Chief bundle, where you get the Master Chief collection. You get like 4 Halo games, the console, a 1 terabyte hard drive, and the new controller, which compared to the one that I'm using right now, the thing I like about their new controller is it has a standard 3.5-inch headphone jack, so I should theoretically be able to, if I want to have really good sound, I can just plug any old 3.5-inch, I could theoretically, hopefully, plug my Bose headphones right into my controller and have amazing sound when I play games. So that sounds pretty spiffy. But, you know, there was just getting to be, you know, like I said, Sony had some pretty cool, like, wow factor stuff for fans. You know, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, people have been wanting that forever. The Last Guardian, people were freaking about that. I got pretty pumped about Shenmue, but that again is coming to the PC as well, because, by the way, since I finished the other video, remember it was just under 1 million? Well, it's over 3 million, so what was it, like 9 hours it was fully funded. And Sony did come out and say they are backing it, they are providing extra funding for it. I don't know what other kind of funding Yu Suzuki has for Shenmue 3, but it is going to happen. And I'm pretty happy about that. I'm actually very happy about that. So there's that. But the thing with Sony is, like, I was really close to getting a PS4 a couple months ago, like when I showed you the PlayStation Vita video where, oh hell, I'll play a little bit more. You know, I wanted to get a PS4 just because they did this whole accessibility thing. You know, I showed you the Vita stuff, but the PS4 has some text-to-speech. Now, granted, it's not super good yet. It doesn't work in a lot of the areas that you would think or hope that it would. But the fact that it's there, you know, that is really cool. But the problem is, like, all the games that Sony really announced, they are next year at the earliest, you know. I'm trying to think even what the hell is coming out for Sony this year. I think there's a Ratchet and Clank game that actually looks really good.
Careful, alarm cars everywhere.
But they have that. I don't know, what other exclusives do they have? I'm drawing a blank. Okay, this part is going to be. This part is always tricky because you can't set off the car alarms. So when I whack these guys, I'm going to try to do it away from these cars. And I'm going to... God, I don't... Let me... Get the hell out of here. I'm going to stop here for a second. I got to... Get! I know I'm going to set off one of these damn car alarms. I just know it. Get the fuck off me. And I can't swing because I'm going to hit these cars. Oh, man. Alright, screw it. We're going to fail. Oh, yeah, we're going to fail spectacularly here. Well, anyway. But yeah, so Sony, you know, their stuff is just not... Yep, I died. That was a really bad place to be in. I should have just swung and went for it. But on that negative note, I think we'll just kind of start over here. But, so, there's a lot more games on the Xbox One, honestly, that I kind of want to play, and they're coming out this year. Oh, yeah. Or they have come out. There's quite a few. Like I said, I want to have that nice high-def Master Chief collection in one place. That'd be great, especially now that theoretically that it actually works. It was so broken for a while. Sunset Overdrive is the game that I was trying to remember the other day when I was talking about that. You got the Rare collection, which has like so many games that I want to play again. Like, I mean, Perfect Dark was great. Conker's Bad Fur Day was funny as hell. Just a bunch of classic games. RC Pro-Am, Jet Force Gemini, Blast Corps. Oh man, like there's so much stuff in there. You got Halo 5, of course, Gears, although that's coming to the PC, I'll probably get it there. But yeah, they're doing some pretty good stuff. And I broke down, and it is not in stock yet on Amazon, but I'm be getting a couple of other items like the Play and Charge kit. They'll be coming in the next couple of days, and so probably, hopefully, when they get one in here very soon, hopefully, then I will maybe have an Xbox One. Yeah, E3 does that to you. You know, it's just finally the breaking point. You've seen enough games that you really want to break down and buy the system. You know, I remember The Last of Us came out for the PS3. That's put me over the edge for that system. You know, and it was worth it. That game is so good. So, you know, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload these. I was going to put them together, but since I spent, like, the other video was really long, this video is really long, I'm going to upload these as two separate videos, not put them together because this is going to be super, super long, but I will upload them both today for you guys. And that will do it for initial E3 press conference coverage for 2015. I'm sure there's other games on the floor that I'm going to keep an eye on. You know, go to a lot of your traditional sites for you know, more gameplay footage and interviews and stuff like that. I mean, but, you know, those are my thoughts of what kind of games they showed off at all the conferences, and, you know, a lot of the high-profile titles that are going to be out there. You know, this is a pretty dang good year. I really wonder how I'm going to be able to play everything, you know. There's a lot that I really want to play, and from multiple places. You know, I mean, you got, like, the Soma, Fallout 4, there's so many games, I just can't even remember what is all coming out this year. But I know there's I think Gears of War is next year, I think. Now, if I look back and went to the games, I mean, there's a good dozen or more that I'm really wanting to keep my eye on for this year. So there's plenty to play. Next year is going to be huge as well. There's plenty of games coming out to look forward to. So I would say, you know, other than some presentation issues here and there, this was a damn good year for E3. Really positive, really looking forward to Shenmue 3, looking forward to all these other games, looking forward to VR. I really want to see what's going to happen with that. Then you got the whole augmented reality with Microsoft and their, you know, they get the Minecraft demo there, but a lot of interesting stuff along the way. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys found it interesting. And until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.